What was the hardest part about making that leap that maybe you didn't expect, like that leap to being out on your own, to being an entrepreneur? What was something that you just kind of were blindsided by?
Great question. For me, it was the sacrifice. Like it's turning over a chapter. I look at it like so many salespeople never are willing to turn chapters of saying, like people think, oh, because you're an owner, you should make more. It's like, no, dude, I literally just put a position together. I'm hiring a guy. He will make 3 times as much as I will this year.
All right, what's up? I'm here with Sam Taggart of D2D Experts and the famous D2D Con. Really excited to dig in, learn about what's going on in his world and his different businesses and events and his whole entrepreneurial venture here. So welcome, Sam. What's going on?
What's going on? Pumped to be here.
Nice. You're fresh off the plane from Florida. What was going on down there?
I had a couple clients. We had some dinners, and then I went to a speaker training. So I kind of like tag teamed a couple back-to-back little shindigs, I guess you could say. So a lot of business happening out in Tampa. And I literally like held a dinner with like 12 different companies I know. And I was like, hey, why don't we just all do dinner together, even though you don't know each other, but I know you all. So it was pretty fun. So yeah, just got like literally just rolled in from the airport 20 minutes ago. So yeah, fun to be back. Good to be home.
Yeah, man, you're a jet setter. That's awesome. Funny you mentioned that. Like that's how I started my business back in 2012. Here in New Jersey, I would organize like these coffee meetups, and I'd be like 7:30 at the Green Planet Coffee Shop. Anyone wants to show up. Coffee's on me. I wasn't even I didn't even know like what I was selling or what my business was at the time, but just gathering different contractors together and then networking and engaging and building relationships, and I was the center of that, so naturally I had some value to offer. That's how I got started. So it's funny, not funny, it's ironic that you're doing that right now.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of networking. I mean, some of them aren't even clients. They're just like people I knew that were in the space. I had a pest control dude, like an owner of a pest control company there, 2 roofing owners, and like 4 different solar owners all at a dinner. And, it's like, well, we don't even know what pest control is. Like, it was just funny. Like, hey, what do you do? Like, it was just funny.
Well, I'm sure people left there with a whole bunch of new ideas, right? Like, one of my big things is take things that are working in other industries and bring them into your industry, and that's where the innovation is going to happen. Don't just copy what everyone else in your industry is doing, because most people don't know what they're doing, and you don't want to look like everyone else. You are in a bunch of industries, so let's kind of start there with your background. Like, tell the audience what you do, what you specialize in, how you got into this. Just kind of a quick background for those of you, or those of the audience rather, who are not familiar with Sam Taggart.
So I started knocking doors when I was 11, and actually I did sales when I was like 9. And what's funny was I was out in Florida, I played golf on Sunday, and I normally don't play golf on Sunday, but anyway, so I went, and there's this girl, she's 10 years old, named Peyton, and she was out selling golf balls. And I was like, that was my first hustle. And I remember I came home one day with $197, and my dad was like, what the freak? Like, what 9-year-old has like almost $200 in cash chilling, you know what I mean? And he's like, what'd you do? And I was like, I was out selling golf balls. And anyway, this girl on Sunday, she literally made like $80 that day with like 3 sales. And I'm like, what 10-year-old, 9-year-old, whatever makes $80 and like just like this? And so since then, I really was addicted to sales. Like, so in 11, I was selling magazines. When I was 13, I got into painting curbs. So I painted addresses on the curbs all through high school. I got all my buddies doing it with me. And then I got into alarms in 2008. And then all of this is door to door. So literally like my whole life I've done door to door. And now, I'm 30 and, 2020 still cranking. So, I did alarms for many years, and then I was top rep, top manager at Vivint, big, probably the biggest door-to-door company in the country. And I was then VP of sales of a solar company, built them pretty big. And then just about 3 years ago, I got into like just saying, hey, somebody's got to like support this space, you know. And I was asking her, I was like, hey, there's a lot of marketing trainers, there's a lot of like, you know, online stuff. Everybody's like, here, make me a magic funnel and I can sit on my couch and make millions of dollars. And I was like, nobody's out there saying like, let me teach you how to beat the streets, grind, get your face kicked in, go to somebody's house, belly to belly, and teach face-to-face selling. And everybody was trying to teach more of the digital selling. And I was like, well, who's supporting us? Like, we're like frowned on. And so I started Door-to-Door Con, big event. Now we have, you know, 2,000 plus people that come every year. It's in January, and, you know, do a podcast and travel around and train and consult. We help companies with recruiting, sales, leadership. You know, I have a recruiting department that recruits for people. We have a leadership trainings and sales trainings and all sorts of cool events, you know, so, and in person, online, whatever. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, you're managing a lot. So you made that transition, like, okay, there's a gap here. There's a need for someone to support this industry. You were VP of sales for a company. What was the hardest part about making that leap that maybe you didn't expect, like that leap to being out on your own, to being an entrepreneur? What was something that you just kind of were blindsided by?
Great question. For me, it was the sacrifice. Like it's turning over a chapter. I look at it like so many salespeople never are willing to turn chapters of saying, you know, like people think, oh, because you're an owner, you should make more. It's like, no, dude, I literally just put a position together. I'm hiring a guy. He will make 3 times as much as I will this year. It's like, I'm like, and I took a year and a half where I didn't get paid $1. And I think that a lot of salespeople, they're not willing to turn the chapter from salesperson to back to the grind of like, pay yourself pennies, not try to take everything off the table and build a business. Like, so it was surprising to see like how much hustle I had to do just to make payroll. And I'm out freaking scrappy, out consulting companies, out freaking doing coaching programs just to build, you know, employees. And now we've got 25 full-time employees, and, you know, and I still am like, we're not even scratching the surface of where we're going, but it's kind of like the hardest thing for me was to swallow the pill of like, I know tomorrow I could go out and sell solar or roofs or whatever and go make 20 grand tomorrow, but it's not about that, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense, because I'm a marketing guy by nature, by trade, not a sales guy. So I'm all about building systems to get customers tomorrow, not necessarily, you know, making that sale today. And obviously you need to have a balance. But you know, we see that a lot in the roofing industry where we focus is, you know, guys are focused on, guys, girls, whoever, focused on sales and you know, buying the big truck and like, you know, like having that I made it moment instead of plowing that money back into the company, where, hey, you might not need to work as much, or, you know, you can live a little bit leaner, have lower overhead, and really build something, like build a true asset instead of just being constant, like, transactional business, you know? It's
mind-boggling. You know, I appreciate every owner and every senior, you know, like executive that I've ever worked for. It's mind-boggling. Like the cost of just getting a bookkeeper, to getting payroll right, to all the software fees. I literally was going through my finances the other day, like running 2019. I was like, Zapier, I paid like $3,500 for the year for Zapier. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think like Uber, like, oh, fetch, I don't have a company card that I can just bill, you know, oh, that goes into that expense under their travel budget that I already just don't really like, you know what I mean? Every time you swipe that card, every time one of your people swipe a card, you're like, oh, what'd you buy? Like, oh, we got all this, like, you know what I mean? You're way more like, we just signed up with Salesforce. It's like, hey, make me a login to Salesforce. I'm like, you realize that's $1,000 if I make you a login? Like, do you really need a login? Like, you know what I mean? And all those things add up. And I think that a lot of people don't ever talk about that crap. And I'm just like, oh, shoot, like, who's paying the $1,000 for your one effing CRM login? Like,
that you might not use. Yeah, I totally get it, man. I mean, congrats on what you built so far. 3 years in, 25 full-time employees. You built a massive following. We've got friends and clients that work with you guys, and like everyone is just like raves about what you do. I was gonna say this till the end actually, but we're talking about it now. Like the testimonials that people put out about you and your events and your training, like you're changing lives. Like your company is changing people's lives. How does that make you feel?
Awesome. And I appreciate you just saying that, because sometimes I get into the weeds and forget that. You know what I mean? Like I just went to this speaker training, and a lot of times I sell, right? Like I'm selling a ton of stuff, but I'm selling the components versus the result. And sometimes I forget about, I've helped companies double, triple, quadruple their businesses. Like literally I got a call today, and they're a little roofing company in Atlanta. They had 2 sales guys. They did $2 million a year, and we recruited them 3 new sales guys. So I'm like, I more than just doubled your company on personnel. And they were like 10 times sharper than their other people they already had. Like I'm talking like the studs that we brought them. And literally she just starts like crying. She's like, dude, you literally just gave us the most talent. Like I would have never been able to find these guys. I would have never, like, and all of a sudden they go sell 5 times more that week. And I'm sitting there like, you just 5x'd your business because you got sharper, better, more people. And she was about to go bankrupt and like trying to figure out how to keep the roof on. And that's like business wise. But then you come to our events and I'm like, scratch the business stuff. Let's talk about life. We talk about like divorce. We talk about pornography. We talk about like, you know, like I dropped dudes in a desert. I took 20 CEOs last year to Puerto Vallarta. I dropped them in a desert, or not in a desert, in the jungle in Puerto Vallarta for a whole 24 hours and said, sit on the rock. You can't talk to people. You're in silent meditation. We're fasting. Here's a can of water. Good luck. Like I'm all about like meditation and the voodoo shiz, and like we do some crazy stuff, man. I'm like, that has nothing to do with business. I'm like, because if you don't change your identity and you don't like break through some of your own limiting beliefs and your own like reservation and your own little inner child that you're like holding on to that like has its own insecurities, and you don't work on that stuff, like your business will fail. Like I can tell you why you probably can't recruit. It's because you're insecure. I can tell you why you probably suck at leading. It's because you're worried about they're always going to leave, and you have this like fear of being bigger than what you are. And like there's so much more behind business instead of just the mechanics. It's the soul. It's like the inner identity that I like to work with, and that's where we get real results. So take like a Tony Robbins meets like business strategy, and you put them together, and that's what we like to call it. Like
I can see that, and that's like one of the reasons I reached out, to be transparent. It's like this guy's like more than just, you know, making revenue and things like that. Dude, if you're ever doubting yourself, just go to your Facebook page like I did today. I stalked your Facebook page for the last few months, I think going back to January. And that's what people are tagging you like, dude, I was at this event, saw him speak, just finished a training, like changed my life. So if you're ever feeling down, like go check out your Facebook page and you get a little pick me up. That's all you need. It's facts. I'm not, you know, just trying to pump you up. Speaking of which, my buddy's clients went to one of your retreats last year, Eric Obrams and Danny Hodge. And I think Eric actually texted me the day before. He's like, hey, you know the Sam Taggart guy? I know you guys work closely now, but this is like at the beginning, I think. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of know who he is. I don't really know much about it. He's like, yeah, I'm going to this thing in Mexico or something. Like, I don't really know what it is. And he's that type of guy. He's like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but it sounds cool, so I'm going to try it out. So, and he told me, like, he didn't tell me, you know, the details, but when he got back, he's like, yeah, it was, you know, it was different and it was awesome. So
he was the one he was in the jungle stuck to next to some wild hogs that cuddled up to him for rescue. I don't know why. Like, he attracted some wild pigs while he was on his 24-hour journey. And no, we weren't on drugs, but somehow he got like these pigs. And we were like walking by and he's like, I made some friends, I guess. Like, it's so funny.
He's a big cuddly guy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
He texted me the other day. He literally just texted me. I love working with those guys. Eric, CMR, you know, we work with CMR a lot right now and helping them add like some different services and different strategies. And, you know, like that, like for me, this is fun. Like I sometimes, especially the contractor space, like I bring the whole like white collar to the blue collar world, I think. You know, obviously you're like marketing and that's pretty white collar, but like sometimes like when I bring like sophistication to the typical roofing sale, because I come from like a much more sophisticated door-to-door program world. You know, Vivint has built 2 multi-billion-dollar door-to-door organizations where I don't know, with thousands of nationwide like knockers, and it's much more, a little bit more organized. So every time I go to like a little 10-man roofing company, I'm like, this is easy. This is fun. Let me just like, and they're just like, oh, whoa, why didn't we think of that? Like, a guy came to my event 2 weeks ago. So there's a company in Illinois, Savage, and they came to our event, our summit. Then they came to our boot camp. He literally texted me today, and he goes, I have a lot of these stories, but he literally texted me today. He's like, dude, he started with 5 guys. He's got 15 guys since 2 weeks ago. So we taught him like all this different stuff. He's like, dude, we're on track to do 3 times what we did like 2 months ago. Just like literally within 2 weeks, he just goes, and he just implemented some stuff, and we're like, cool. And anyway, it's just fun to see those like stories, like within 2 weeks, like you can go change your company. And I think so many people get stuck. Like, I don't know. They're like, oh, I got my 5 guys, and this Johnny and Susie, they just never effing work, and I can't get them off their couch. And like, Timmy's just waiting for leads, and if I don't give him leads, then he's just going to sit there. And like, I think so many people get stuck with this, like, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it Daniel Joseph Savage?
Daniel Maldonado.
Okay.
Daniel Maldonado.
All right. Yeah, maybe his Facebook name's Daniel Joseph. That's probably it. But I love.
He does go by Joseph. I don't know why he does that, but
hiding from someone. But no, their brand is great. I love the brand. I don't know them personally. But I think that, I'm going to guess that companies get like that when they have a bunch of scrub, salespeople, and they're hesitant to go recruit. So like, well, why the heck would I want more of this? Like more headaches. Like, why do I want to double my headaches? They probably don't realize that things can be different if you just had some systems, and that's one of the reasons, one of the main reasons that I grew up in the construction industry, but started Contractor Dynamics, because I saw the need for bringing like honestly like simple like business and marketing practices to this industry that can have a transformative effect. So I know exactly what you're talking about. On the recruiting end, really curious about that. I'd love to learn more about that. This time of year, we're recording right now in June. Like, we work in the roofing industry. We see tons of roofers, owners on Facebook spending a whopping 6 to 7 seconds writing, hey, we're recruiting sales reps, PM me your info. And half the time things are misspelled. And I'm like, really? Like, you're recruiting sales reps in the middle of busy season, and you take 6 to 8 seconds to write that post, and like, who do you really think that you're going to attract? What do you say to that? And how do you train companies on how to recruit? Like, is it like in advance of their needs, or is it as needed, or like, what are some strategies that people can follow for that?
Well, you've heard of, I probably should just write a new book. So I wrote this ABCs of Closing, which we all know ABCs, right? Always be closing. Well, recruiting should just be ABR. Like, it's always be recruiting. Like, I think so many people, they're like, oh, I'm going to recruit when I lose a guy. Or once I get to 5, I'm going to stop recruiting. And I go, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, in my opinion, a lot of people are like, well, I'm a business owner. And I'm like, what do you own? You own a roofing company. Like, what the freak does that even mean? Like, if you're to sell your company tomorrow, like, what the freak are they buying? The brand? Like, who cares about your brand? You're some like little guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, unless you're some like $300 million company, like, there is no brand. Like, everybody can go make a logo and like sell $5 million roofs. Like, no offense. Like, what are they buying? They're buying the sales engine. So if you you got to look at it like you're in the talent acquisition business. And if you saw yourself as, I'm always building talent and I'm always finding top talent, I'm always replenishing crappy talent, I'm cutting the fat, finding new ones, like, and I have a machine that knows how to grow, that is, to me, way more valuable if I'm going to buy a company than what? Like a brand? Like a truck? You got a truck, that's good. Like, now you're going to buy a 5-year-old truck? Like, congrats. Like, so for me, it's knowing how to have a good conversation with we call it the 6 branches of recruiting, right? So you have 6 branches. You have like your personal network you can reach out to and how to do that. Then you have like your public encounters and how to do that. Then you have like your online recruiting, like how do you post ads and run like funnels and work the job boards. And then how do you do, sniping? There's like experienced reps. We call them the mercenaries. It's like, how do you go after other people's people? And then how do you, so just knowing there's a different technique and strategy that you're going to use for each branch that you're trying to pull from. But all of them are good. It's like I would have a system in place for each of the 6 branches of recruiting, and I would know how to approach each scenario. I'm going to call my buddy, I'm going to call him different than if I'm coaching some dude on Facebook. You know what I mean? Like a whole different approach. And then, but the other side, here's a good advice. Your 3 uniques.
Yep.
Define what your 3 uniques are of why the freak worked for you versus Tom down the street versus John down the street. Like, and don't make it money. Like if you're sitting there begging for hires because you're trying to pay another nickel more, like for me, it's how do you make your company where you pay less and you make more for your guys? You have a better margin. Your guys make more because they produce more, and the culture is what keeps people. The leadership is what keeps people, not the pay. Because guess what? Dude down the street's going to offer a little % more, and then all of a sudden he goes there. And if you make recruiting about the money, then you're not enrolling them into your culture. You're not enrolling them in your ability to make them an all-star. You're not enrolling them in your leadership ability. And I think that a lot of people, they struggle at understanding what makes them unique and what makes them the best and what makes them the right company to work for. And I think they've just never been trained on that. I don't know. Like I train a lot on recruiting because I sat down with a dude in San Antonio. I literally sat down with his interview. I'm out there and I was like, set up 3 or 4 interviews in a row. And I want to watch you do a couple and then you're going to watch me do a couple. And it was funny to watch the first 2. I was like, let's let you do it so I can give you feedback. And then I'm going to do the next 2. And just to watch the guy, like not even know how to explain compensation, not even know how to like, not overcome like the concern. I was just like, what are you doing? And I didn't want to like, like a door approach. You don't want to like jump in and be like, oh, let me take over. Like this, you're this owner and I'm not trying to like sabotage, but like, then I show him, I was like, here's how to have a proper interview. Here's how to have a proper enrolling conversation. Here's how to not sound desperate, make them come to you. Here's how to make an offer. Here's how to not make an offer. Like, and you break through the understanding all of that. And, it'd take me forever to kind of like teach every little element of that. That's like a 20-hour training. But I think that more than not, people try to put a 5-second post, like you said, and they try to say, I need sales reps. And you're like, yep, got me. I'm going to quit my profession and come work for you based on that. Like, no, like there's so much more tact than that. Like,
yeah,
it's just like,
yeah, you articulated it very well. And I'm sure that's in more of that trainings in D2D University, to give a little plug for one of your products, right? Yeah. It's like, who are you going to attract? And like you talk about, like, hire people who have jobs. Don't hire people that are sitting on their parents' couch eating Doritos. Like hire people who have jobs because they're driven, right?
And remember this. So we have the 8 principles of recruiting, and the third one is the 3 leagues. And the 3 leagues is this. This is good. A's recruit A's. A's recruit B's. A's recruit C's. B's recruits B's, but B's can't recruit A's, and C's recruit C's, but C's will never recruit B's and A's. So the question is, are you an A? Are A's recruit A's? And if you're not an A player and you're not throwing down and you're not performing at a high level and you don't have the ability, like as the owner, I would ask yourself, like, how many did you sell this month? How many did you sell this week? Because if I'm going to go recruit somebody, I'm going to be like, I'm going to lead you to it, watch me do it, and then I'm going to teach you how to do it. So like, if I look at it like that, I'm going to be a much more talented recruiter versus like, hey, you're going to come work here. You're going to be my minion. You're going to go out in the field. I'm going to sit back and do all this operation shit that like you think I should be doing. Like, no, it is, I'm going to lead you to it. You're going to watch me do it. And then I'm going to show you how to do it. And then you're going to do it as well. So for me, A's recruit A's, but you got to be an A player if you're going to want to attract some baller players.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense the way you break that down. You guys have it down to a science. What about culture? Because obviously you want to attract the right people, but in most industries that are probably consuming this content right now, there's a lot of turnover, right? How do you ensure? I mean, obviously there's always going to be some people that leave, but how do you not only attract the right people, but keep them and help them build a great future in your company?
Yeah, so retention in a sales organization is probably the first indicator of 2 things. So if you can't seem to keep people, I would look at one of the two things. One is your system of onboarding and training, right? So if you just have a clunky system, so we call it the 5 platforms. So these guys go through these platforms of like, okay, when I get recruited, like who's passing me to the manager? Then is the manager taking me in the field? And then in the field, am I now a rep? Like what's the platform? And then there's fall off points, right? So if the pass off's not good and the energy, we'll call it like this golden feeling of a new hire isn't remaining a constant like high, what's going to happen is the second he meets Joe in the office and Joe's like, so let's say I'm the manager, I hire a new guy and I pass him to Joe and I was like, hey Joe, can you take this guy out today? I've got a couple of adjuster meets. I got to go out and do some stuff. So yeah, will you knock with Joe? And Joe's like, no, like I got stuff. Like, can you knock with somebody else? And the dude, Timmy, that you're hiring is like, oh, well, now I'm just like chopped liver. So, and then, let me call somebody else. Hey, Mary, will you take this new guy, Timmy, out? He needs to knock with somebody. And she's like, yeah, I guess I'll take him out. That's fine. And Timmy's over here like, just getting tossed around. Like, right. So there, I've already lost my golden feeling. Like that's just like, boom, your retention just went down. You'll lose dudes just like that. Or how about this one? I've got, hey, Timmy, super excited to have you work. Check your email. You've got all your paperwork, your docs, your tools. Just check it. Check your email and let me know when you get all that stuff signed and sent over. And Timmy's like, okay. He pulls up his email. He's got like a 15-page contract. He's sitting there like, I don't even know what this says. It seems like crazy. Like, it has like crazy jargon and legal stuff. And he's like, what am I getting myself into? So it's like, do the freaking paperwork with them right now. And it's like, you can literally just say, hey, let's just do it together. I'll walk you through it. I'll answer questions, make sure you have like a good experience as we get through this. And then now you don't lose them right there, right? Like the feeling doesn't go away. I just that simple, like those are just 2 of like 15 steps we could talk through just on an onboarding standpoint of saying, okay, what happens when you just first get started with the company? Because usually you're going to lose guys within the first 14 days, right? They're going to go out, then they're going to get their face kicked in day 1. And they're like, oh my gosh, this isn't what you promised. You told me you're going to make 6 figures and I just got my ass handed to me and I made $0 in the last 3 days. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. And now you're sitting there like, dude, you got it. Just, figure it out. And then Joe's like, yeah, I went through that too. And, it's like, and then Timmy's now not like, oh, I feel so good right now. Yeah, just tell me. Yeah, we all get our nuts kicked into. Like, it's just part of the job. Like, think about that. Like, and that's just a normal everyday company. Like, you just, I go to 9 out of 10 companies. That's what they look like. And you go, well, okay, what is the culture for retention then? What is that even like? What am I doing to retain the guy when that's the scenario that I see 9 times out of 10 when I go to a company? So the first one, your first indicator is you have a crappy onboard and training system. The second indicator is your own ability of leadership. People don't leave companies, they leave leaders. Think about that. Like they don't leave a company because they're like, oh, this brand, the pricing. Like they leave the company because the leader isn't connecting the dot between where they are and where they want to be. A good leader knows how to clearly draw a path between where they currently are as an individual and where they want to be, and they give a clear step-by-step outline of like, do this. There's other people within our company that have done that, so emulate them as well as me, and let's follow the simple, clear path that's drawn in front of you. But guess what? Most people hire people and they go, well, here's your pay scale, here's your products, here's your tools, here's your stuff. Like, you go through all this stuff and you're like, good luck. And they might have good training. They might have good systems, but they're like, I want to make $200,000 this year. And they look around at the office and then they're like, has anyone in here made $200,000? And you got a bunch of like, fat old dudes that like have these big beer bellies that are making $30,000 a year. And they're like, yeah, but you can totally make $200,000 in roofing. And you're like, well, no one in this room has made $200,000. So what gives me any hope that I am going to make $200,000? oh, the sky's the limit, man. It's commission. You can sell as many. It's like, there is nobody in here doing that. So my thing is, go create all-stars. And like a lot of people think they have to poach them. A lot of people think they're just, like, that's not even a thing. You can motivate through the dopamine doctor systems that I teach. I teach people how to be a dopamine doctor, to go incentivize people to do performing way more than what they naturally think they are capable of. That is what a good culture is. It's the free energy created through good systems that people naturally do things because they choose to, not because they're forced to. And that's what creates this free energy we call culture.
Man, you've got some strong feelings there, and those are some amazing nuggets. Thanks for sharing. That can listening to that, implementing that, maybe hiring you guys to help with that, can transform companies. Like, it's about systems. I interviewed someone last week. I don't know if you know Graham Desert Roofing 101 out in Cali.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a new class. They've got a whole recruiting team, recruiting manager. They've got a new class of sales reps that come in every month. They got a 2 or 3 week training process. They have talks, like vision meetings, about the vision of the company and how they make decisions, and they're communicating. And
so they were a consulting client of mine for like 6 months. So literally, I helped them put all of that together. I flew out to California once a month, and I put that together with them.
All right, there we go. I had no idea. I was just like, because I was talking with Graham, like that. I quite honestly, I've never heard that. Like, that is so.
Give me a roofing company that does that. Now you watch Graham and you go, they plug into an effing system. We built their training portal online. We built Roofing 101 University. We filmed their videos. We told them, just follow a path. Like, that is it.
Yep.
The system.
So you come from a systems world with Vivint and other companies, and Graham comes from a franchise world and College Pro Painters. So that makes sense. Building your business based on systems, not just like, hey, I'm hiring sales guys. Here's a hat and a t-shirt. You start on Monday. Go check out the neighborhood. There's some nice roofs there. You make 10%. Just bring back a signed contract, and we'll go from there. I guess that's how it works a lot.
100%.
So this is one thing I'm really curious about from a business owner perspective. You've mentioned, like, you're out there training them. You're in Tampa. You're all over the place. You seem very hands-on. You've got a lot going on. You've got family. You've got 25 employees. What do you do in your business? What do you focus on? Are you still that hands-on, or are you kind of like elevating from that? Or talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the struggle every day, as much as I want to be hands-on. Like, I'm a very watch me do it kind of person. I think there's a lot of people that get into the coaching space and I want to be a trainer and create an online course and sit at my couch and do nothing. I'm like, no, I went knocking with Grant's company in freaking San Diego, like, every effing time I was out there. Like, I took his new guys. I was like, dude, let's go. Like, I put in deals for him. Like, I was like, let's go. And, I am very much like, let's go do it instead of talk about it, because I think so many trainers out there and coaches are like, let's go, like, give you a course, watch my online course, you're going to be rich. I'm like, no, I want to see you get an effing result. And so I have lately been building, I just started a thing called the Bomb Squad. So I've recruited a few days. I have like 4 or 5 experts that are full-time that go and do what I do. So I have a team of experts, but now I'm making a team of Bomb Squad that are more the foot soldiers that actually go to companies, infuse life in them for 5 days, are 10 times better sales guys than any of them have probably ever seen in their life. And I basically can just either plug in my team of experts that's like high-level business consultants, or I can plug in my foot soldiers, and I've now got this and this, and then I've got my architects, which are a team of recruiters. So I have like Team Builder, which is a team of recruiters. I have my experts that's like high-level coaching and consulting, and then I have my foot soldiers, my Bomb Squad is what they're called, and then they go deploy to teams. So now I just basically broker deals, make sure that people have the right setup and program that's going to get them a result. But it is still pretty hands-on. Like, we're not a do-it-for-you company, but we're very much like, I'm going to find people with you. I'm going to go train and onboard those people with you. I'm going to go put systems in place. Like, I have a video team that's going to film your content. I have like a platform that we're going to white label and make it for you. Like, a lot of plug-and-play systems that's like, all you need to do is show up and you will get effing results, because there's so many fake companies out there that teach and coach and I'm like, why do I have to have a team of 25 people? Is so that I can handle the bandwidth. Like, we have a waiting list right now where literally I turn people away. Like, I'm just like, hey, we don't have the bandwidth to handle your company right now, but you can get on our waiting list to do some of our high level stuff where we come out and like get dirty with you. But that being said, when we get dirty with you, it pays for itself, because we actually get recruits, we get deals, we put them in your company's name, like we show you, where it's like real deals. Like, you get paid on those deals. They're like actual tangible roof deal. Like, here you go.
Right.
I went to a company that like I was in Maryland. The guy hired me the following year too, because he's like, every time you come out, you put in deals. Like, you're free. He's like, I make money every time you come out.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great value prop. It's like, you pay for it. It pays for itself, like right then and there.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, I'm free. I'll throw in deals. Like, and if I don't, your dudes are going to all throw in deals after I leave.
Yeah. I mean, who can turn that down? It's not like what we do in marketing. It's like, do the work now and you'll get customers, down the road. That could be a tough value prop sometimes.
Exactly. Like, it's funny. I said D2D is the most inefficient but efficient way to do business. If me and you got in a race and said, hey, first one to do 20 deals, I would win every time. I guarantee. Because if we started a company from scratch, like it's like, ready, go. I will go do 20 deals in a couple of days. You'll have to go set up funnels and ad spends and build an audience, and you know what I mean? You're going to go, but why we're the inefficient is because you could go talk to thousands of people all at once. I can talk to one person belly to belly, close them right then and there, walk away with a check, like done, and then do it again and do it again. So if you couple the two, where you can have leads, you can have, kind of a multi-channel approach, that's where I see companies winning, right? Like they put marketing, like a lot of people are like, Sam, are you against marketing? I'm like, no, it's 2020. I'm not an idiot. Like, how do you know about me? Because I market. Like, I mean, I'm on an FM podcast right now. Like, why? Because it's marketing. So I'm not against marketing. I think it's smart, but it's like people ask, like they go broke for 6 months waiting for a lead funnel to click in. Why not from 6 or 5 till 9 p.m. at night, while you're not working on your damn funnel shiz, you go put in effing deals to fund your stupid funnel stuff. Like, go make some money. Like, you could go out tomorrow and put in and go make 10 grand in this space, like, very easily. No, I just think too many people, they get so obsessed with trying to find a shortcut because of the anxiety and the inefficient. So why I say it's the most efficient is because I could go beat anybody to making money like this. Why it's the most inefficient is because you have to deal with your own human brain that's trying to anxiety talk yourself out of knocking. You get your face kicked in. You have to convince your team of foot soldiers to go out and actually work in the hot sun all day where nobody yells at you on Facebook. Like, you put a Facebook ad, you might have like one troll, but it's not like it hurt your feelings. Like, nobody's like, oh, a Facebook ad, you suck. Like, screw you. Like you're kind of like, oh, delete the comment. Like nothing came in your emotion. But when you get a gun pulled on you or sprayed by a hose or thrown in a cop car, like that is like detrimental. Like, you have like post-traumatic stress and stuff like that when that stuff happens. Like, that is the inefficiency of door-to-door. You have to deal with crazy people every day, and you don't know what's behind that door, and it's an unknown, where obviously marketing is kind of like, well, I spent 10 grand on ads this month and I got X amount of leads and nobody bit me. Like, I didn't get chased down by a dog. There's no Rottweiler involved. That's a win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And I'm not against door knocking. I'm not. So we talk about hunting and farming, right? You're out there hunting for, you're knocking doors and all that, but you should also be spending time farming. Planting seeds and building relationships, doing ads, like running content, doing videos and things like that. So, when there's no prey to hunt, or, maybe the prey is thin that week, then you're not going to starve. So, I'm not a fan of relying.
Don't become the herbivore that's waiting for the garden to grow all the time. Like, the second you become a soul farmer because you became so soft, like take a freaking, what would it be, like a brontosaurus that only eats like trees and stuff. Mm-hmm. But let's say that he was born a T-Rex, and so many people, they're born T-Rexes. They come into the space as a hunter. They're like, I'm a freaking savage. I'm going to go out and freaking find my prey, eat it, kill it. And then all of a sudden they get leads and they start to farm a little bit, right? Well, all of a sudden their freaking DNA switches to some herbivore, like some brontosaurus. And then all of a sudden they can't like mutate back to that T-Rex all the time. Like they're just like, I forgot who that T-Rex inside of me was because it's been suppressed. Word to the wise. Pay attention to when you're so soft and you're this like big brontosaurus just like trying to pick the leaves off the trees, and when you're not willing to go be the T-Rex that's going to go find its prey. Like, I've never used that analogy of the dinosaurs, but it's like too many people have this identity crisis going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and sometimes they just sit on one side of the fence, and that's what kills them.
I love it. Yeah, you have to adapt. You have to be willing to do what it takes, and have that long-term vision and know that, you know, you're going to do what it takes to get there. Man, you're so passionate about this stuff. I can see why you've been so successful. Like you're passionate about this. It's awesome. I want to be respectful of your time. I know it's getting late here. We talked about recruiting. We talked about culture building. We talked about systems building. You've got to have, and in my opinion, this is one of the reasons that attracted me to want to interview you, is like, it's not just about business. Like, you've got to have the mindset dialed in. You've got to be healthy. You've got to have some healthy routines and habits. You can't just have that one-legged stool that's like hustle and grind and make money and revenue and crushing it and all that stuff. Like, how do you incorporate different aspects of your life so you're not just like grinding all the time? Because you're doing a lot. I'm sure you can work 20 hours a day if you really wanted to. But how do you balance all that to make sure that you're dialed in, you're squared away on all different levels?
I don't necessarily like believe in balance. I just believe in more like compartmentalizing. Like when I'm on the plane, here's a perfect example. I have a rule, and what you do is you set boundaries. So for example, I have a boundary that at certain time of night, I just don't take phone calls, emails, texts, and I just spend time with my kids and fam. I have a boundary when I'm on a plane. This is such a weird one. And like, I was flying with one of my guys today, and he hops up on the internet and he's like, hey, let's work through this. And I was like, oh, I don't get on the internet on the plane. And he's like, what? And I was like, my boundary is I've never paid for internet on the plane. Why? Because I get so much more done when I'm not sitting on social and Instagram and emails and trying to respond to this and this and this. And I'm like, this is my gold time to write, to work on systems, to get the stuff that I want to get done. And nobody gets to interrupt me for 5 hours. You know, that one leg, I went Florida to F and JFK to Utah, and it was like the weirdest layover. But I was like, yes, I told the stewardess when we landed, she's like, it's time to go. And I was the last one off the plane. I was like, please, Mom, don't make me get off this plane. Because I was like on a roll. She was like, what are you talking about? Like, literally, she said that. And I was like, no, I'm almost done. And I know the second I get off the plane, turn my phone off airplane mode, my phone is going to be like, so that would be a boundary.
Right. I got to cut in there real quick. I had that rule for myself. No Wi-Fi, no work on planes. And I totally just did not abide by that rule this year. I was doing a ton of traveling in Q1. So you're inspiring me to get back there, because it's so key, because we seldom have that downtime in our always connected world.
Yes, I disconnect on planes. I love disconnecting on planes. So mornings, I have my whole week planned. So Sunday night, I plan for like 3 hours. I have a planning session. I wrote a planner. I'm that obsessed. I literally have my own planner called the DDD Planner.
Sweet.
I have a copy somewhere sitting in here. And I'm very meticulous. So the mornings, I mountain bike twice a week. I play basketball twice a week. I work out 3-4 times a week. I go on runs. I go on hikes. Like, you know, I'm very obsessed with like mapping out what cool physical activity am I doing in the mornings. Then I map out, okay, what date? So like, for example, every 4th of the month, I have like a daddy-daughter date with one of my daughters. So the birthday day, so my daughter's born on the 4th, every month on the 4th, I take her on a date. My other daughter, every month on the 25th, I take her on a date. Every month, you know, so each kid has its own day, special day. And then date night, Saturday night, it's like clockwork. My wife knows, get a sitter at 6, I will plan something fun. We're going to go do something fun. So like you compartmentalize your time to where it's already calendared out. I have mapped out a trip every single month of the year. I go on a trip and I had it mapped out for January. So I'm not like, oh shit, this month I'm swamped. It's like, I already have Sun Valley planned. I have this trip planned with my family. I have this trip planned with the family. Like, I know I go, we're going to Reed Ranch next weekend, and the 3 weeks we go to Sun Valley, and then in 9 weeks I go to Newport. Like, I already know my family trip, so I spend a lot of time very concentrated not to work on a family trip. So like, balance is such a weird thing because it's like, well, if I'm trying to have an equal amount of time, I don't know if that's the right answer, but it's just being able to compartmentalize the things that are important to you, because what you put your time, money, and energy towards is really what you value. So it's kind of like that's a way to check yourself. If you're not investing in your family, your time, money, or energy, then you obviously don't value them. If you're not investing in your fitness, time, money, energy, I spend a lot of money on fitness and time. And if you don't invest in spirituality, time, money, energy, then you just don't value it. It's just a fact indicator of what you value is where you're putting your resource allocation.
True. I 100% agree, man. I do my Sunday planning as well. I should do the monthly vacation planning, or at least downtime planning. It's huge, building your business around your life, not building your life around your business, not grinding all day. And then, if there's time for this, there's time for this. And if it happens, it does. If not, oh, well, get it next time. Like I've been there, I've done that, and I don't want to do that anymore. I've got a family as well. So, it's super important to be intentional about that. And that's so important to business, which is why I try to bring it up on every episode I do. It's so important. It's not just about the grind. So thanks for sharing that, man. Very inspiring. Let's wrap it up with a few lightning round questions, if you don't mind. Your father is quite the impressive entrepreneur from what I read, to say the least. He founded OGO, among other pretty prominent companies and brands. One instance in your business that comes up over and over again where you remember something that he told you, that kind of like you hear his voice.
That has never been asked, but partnerships. I watched my dad get into some crazy, stupid partnerships and lose millions and millions of dollars. So before bringing on any equity, like I'm about to for the first time, and I swear my dad will probably chop my nuts off if I tell him. But he literally, he is like, do not, just own your own effing business. And everybody's going to try to talk you into, partnering and this and co-equity and 50-50. And he's like, I don't see it working. But then he's like, good agreements make great relationships. And that was something that has always resonated with me as well. Just making sure that every agreement you put in place is so freaking clearly outlined and thought through, because I watch so many relationships go sour because they just have a mismanaged expectation. Like one dude thinks one thing, another dude thinks another thing. So those would be my two ones that just resonate in my head all the time.
Very cool. Very cool. What's the current book that you're reading?
It's called The Fearless Mind. So it's a guy named Craig Manning he's a sports psychologist, and he coaches women's tennis at BYU. And anyway, he's awesome. I did a podcast with him. He spoke at Door to Door Con 2 years ago. He's this Australian dude, but he's coming to one of our events. I haven't told my inner circle yet. I don't know if I want to surprise him or not, because that's our book of the month. So we have a mastermind group, and every month we read the same book. And anyway, it's called The Fearless Mind. Super good. Would definitely recommend it. It's my second time reading it. So
cool. I love reading, so I'll put that on the list. It's already on my notebook here. What's your morning routine?
So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, basketball at 5:30. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 o'clock, wake up, go either bike, run, or mountain bike. And then right now I'm doing a jump training. So I've added in between, whether I'm sitting on the bench playing basketball, if it's my turn to sit, I do a jump training. So I'm actually training to dunk right now. I'm 5'10", I'm a white dude, and that's been always one of my goals in life. And I was like, well, I think let's do it. So I'm doing this intensive jump training right now. But then I usually have like a meditation about 10 minutes, and then I read usually about 20 minutes, and then I plan for about 10 minutes, and then, I'm usually done with that before freaking my family even wakes up. So I love my morning routine. Am I perfect at every day? No, but I have a thing called my 3 S's, and in my planner I write this down. So I keep score every week. I ask myself, did I do my 3 S's? And that's, did I shred? Did I think? And have I practiced my skills? So like, if I studied, if I read out a book, listened to a podcast, did I do something to educate myself? And so every day I've actually keep score. So there's 21 days, or there's 21 points possible. Every week I'm keeping score in my planner, and I'm trying to get 21 out of 21, because I know if I do those 3 things every day, think is like, did I think spiritually, emotionally, relationship wise? And that would be some kind of sync. So shred, sleep, hydration, respiratory, exercise, diet. It's an acronym I made. And anyway, it's kind of my way of thinking. So hopefully that answers.
Right on. Yeah, I saw your whiteboard or a video on that recently. I like it, the 3 S's. You were at Myletts House for the podcast interview. What was one thing that really stuck out about going to his house and that whole experience? I'm a big fan, so this is my personal question.
Dude, when you're like, never meet your heroes kind of thing, you've heard that? Like,
Yep.
I didn't know what to expect, right? So I walk in, he's in this like multi-million-dollar house around the beach, Laguna, right? And you walk in and he's like, hey, have a seat, whatever, let's hang. And he's like, just super chill. Like, he's like the most down-to-earth human being. Like, he is so legit. And then like, what's interesting, he's super chill, super down-to-earth, and he just knows his stuff. Like, every word out of his mouth sounds like a quote. You're like, what the freak? So like, just how polished he was. Been married to the same person his whole life, like a religious dude. We had like a freaking 45-minute like religious conversation, and like, he's open about it. And like, he's very, we spent like 2 hours offline. It was just unbelievable to pick his brain on just the way he thinks, the way his grind is, his competitiveness. Like, he is uber competitive. You could tell. He's like, who else you got speaking? I was like, well, I got these guys. Like, oh yeah, no, he's not good. Like, dude, I'll throw down on it. Like, he's not like, but he's like confidently humble. Like, It was like a way of like being like, you're just like, he knows he's worth a lot of, like, he's like, well, when you have a lot of money, you're stupid rich when all of the banks in America are already full and you don't have places to put your money. I'm like, what? Like, he has filled every bank he could put his money in. So he has a problem at storing money in banks because he has so much. Like, that to me is like unfathomable. You know what I mean? Like, he's like the real deal. Like, anyway.
Wow. I feel bad for him. That's a horrible problem to have.
That's a horrible problem to have. Yeah. You're like, you're like Narcos. You're like digging holes with cash in it. Like, what do I do?
That must have been a thrill, man. That
Smart
is so
dude.
cool. Yeah. Also, I love him, and it's great to hear that you had that experience personally, that, he's as genuine as he is in person as he is, online and his podcast and everything like that. Is there a person, Sam, that you've been trying to connect with that for whatever reason you haven't been able to?
Yeah, Tony Robbins. I'm trying to get Tony Robbins to Door-to-Door Con this year. And
all right.
He's not an easy one. So I literally went to dinner with the guy that owns Black Magic last week. And Black Magic's that lucky hat that he always wears. And so He's like got his own private, and anyway, so he's like, oh, I got his assistant's phone number. You want to call him? So literally this week I'm planning on like reaching out that way. But I mean, he's been like an idol. Like, he helped me in my career a lot. Like, he came and spoke at Vivint one year, and that was like a big breakthrough year for me. And anyway, I listened to his books like religiously one year, Personal Power 2, and just like, I don't know, I've never been to his event. Like, I just had him come to an event, but like, I've always been inspired by his way of how he impacts people quickly. But he'd probably be one. David Goggins. I like David Goggins. He's good.
Me too. Love him. You'll get Tony one day. You'll be persistent. Hey, how can you expect him to go to your event if you haven't been to his event? You got to give to get, right?
I know. David Goggins, unfortunately, is booked during Door-to-Door Con, so I can't get him to our event. But, dude, I'm sharing all the secrets. Usually I'm, like, pretty quiet about, like, some of the people I'm going after. But, no, it's been fun. Like, hosting a big event, obviously you have to go spend a lot of money on these speakers, but what's really cool is you get to build relationships. Like, I literally flew out and hung out with Jordan Belfort last month for, like, a full day, like, chilling in his pad. Like, you know, like, going to Myletts House, like, hanging out with, you know, Tim Grover. Like, we literally came to my house for a whole day. We were shooting hoops in my basketball court. Like,
wow.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, literally, Tim Grover in my own house court is literally passing me the rock, critiquing my shot. Like, that's cool. He passed the rock how many times to Michael Jordan? Like, anybody's seen The Last Dance? Like, literally, he's on that. Like, dude. And, you know, it's like this cool stuff. Like, Coach Burt, he's coming to freaking Costa Rica with us in September. Like it's fun because you get to build these relationships with people you're like, I would have never known that, dude. Like, anyway, I'm blessed. Yeah. I'm blessed and grateful. Yeah.
You are, man. You're, I mean, we live in a cool world where you can build something and you can have access to people that you want to kind of network with and build relationships with and get to know and add value to. So that is exciting. That's exciting. It's going to help me level up just kind of hearing your story and some of the things that you're doing, man. So really appreciate having you on, and thanks so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy. Why don't you leave us with any parting shots, and where's the best place to find you and follow you and what you're doing?
I mean, a million places. So you got the podcast, DDD podcast. You got like Instagram at the Sam Taggart, YouTube, DDD Experts, and I don't know. You just look me up on Google. I'm sure I'll pop up somewhere. But or the chick from like, I don't know what it's called, some like doctor movie, Samantha Taggart. Like, there's a couple Sam Taggarts that pop up. But, I would just say, like, don't forget that young hustle within. Like, don't become the brontosaurus. I'm gonna start using that. Don't become the brontosaurus. Keep the T-Rex inside you. Like, own that. Like.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot, brother. Great to have you on, and hopefully we'll cross paths at one of these events coming up as soon as we can get back and travel and go to conferences again.
Love it. Yep. Same. Likewise.